It starts quietly, so quietly that even you don't notice it at first. You're 7 years old, staring into the eyes of a parent who is unraveling in ways you read too young to understand. Maybe it's addiction, maybe it's rage, maybe it's the silent hollowness of someone whose spirit has already left the room. And in that moment, without a single word spoken, something ancient clicks into place inside your small mind. If I don't hold everything together, no one will. This is how a child disappears. Not physically, psychologically, spiritually. They smile more. They cry less. They learn to read the room before they read their own feelings. They become the emotional thermostat of the household, the peacekeeper, the fixer, the tiny adult with a tiny nervous system trying to carry an entire world. And the world applauds them for it. You're so mature. You're so responsible. You're so strong. But no one ever asks the only question that matters: at what cost? This is the invisible grief of the child who grew up too fast. And today we're going into the psychology of that child. Not the one in your memories, the one still living inside your skin. Because those patterns don't fade with age. They follow you into love, into work, into your sense of worth. And if you don't understand what happened, you'll spend your adult life repeating survival strategies that once saved you, but now are suffocating you. Let's start with what's happening developmentally. When a child is forced to emotionally support an adult instead of being supported by one, psychologists call it parentification. It's when the child becomes the caregiver, the peacekeeper, the therapist, the protector, roles that don't belong to them. And this doesn't just hurt, it rewires the brain, because when a child is repeatedly put in charge of emotional regulation, either their own or the adults, it creates hypervigilance. You scan every room for danger. You anticipate the next explosion before it happens. You learn that love is conditional, transactional, a currency you earn by keeping the peace. Your needs become dangerous. Their needs become urgent. So you disappear. Not physically, emotionally. And in your place grows a version of you that performs beautifully. The good child, the quiet achiever, the reliable friend, the one who never asks for anything. A mask so convincing that even you forget it's a mask. But something inside hurts. Something aches. Because the child you buried isn't dead. They're still inside you screaming silently, "Why didn't anybody protect me?" As you grow older, the symptoms become more layered. You might become hyper-independent. The kind of person who refuses help, pushes people away, or never feels fully safe in love. You might feel numb during joy because happiness feels unfamiliar, unearned, or dangerous. You might struggle to rest because productivity is the only way you've ever felt worthy. If this part feels painfully familiar, you can tell me in the comments. Sometimes naming it out loud is the first step back to yourself. Worst of all, you might not even realize you're still in survival mode, because when chaos is normal in childhood, silence feels suspicious in adulthood. Peace feels like a setup. Stillness feels wrong. Love feels like a debt you'll eventually have to repay. This is the psychology of the child who grew up too fast. It's not sadness, it's complex trauma, and it reshapes not just how you see the world, but how you see yourself. You might wonder, why would a child take on this role? The answer is simple and devastating. Because children will do anything for attachment, even abandon themselves. It's not conscious, it's biological. When safety is missing, the child sacrifices authenticity for belonging. That's not weakness, that's survival, that's instinct. But here's the tragedy. What saved you then imprisons you now. So many of us are walking around as high-functioning adults with deeply neglected inner children pulling the strings. We overachieve to earn love. We stay silent to avoid abandonment. We take care of everyone, while secretly praying someone would finally ask if we're okay. And that fantasy, that someone will notice you're not as strong as you pretend, that someone will let you fall apart in their arms, that fantasy doesn't belong to the adult you. It belongs to the child who never got to be a child. The first step to healing is not fixing, it's witnessing. Because if you won't validate your own pain, You'll keep gaslighting yourself with thoughts like, it wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse. I turned out fine. But fine is a mask too, and deep down, you know it. So what happens to that child when they grow up? They become adults who don't feel safe in calm rooms, lovers who flinch at softness, givers who can't receive, people who apologize for crying, shrink under compliments, and confuse exhaustion with success. This is the cost of growing up too fast. If your childhood taught you to be strong instead of soft, quiet instead of honest, responsible instead of held, what kind of adulthood does that create? An adulthood where you're always holding your breath, waiting for someone, anyone, to give you permission to finally fall apart. But here's the truth. No one is coming to rescue the child you buried. You are the one who must go back and get them. You are the one who must say what no one ever said. You didn't deserve that. You are just a child. You're safe now. You get to rest. This is the beginning of shadow work. Not fixing, not performing, not bypassing your pain with positivity, but turning toward the abandoned parts of yourself and saying, I see you now, I hear you now, I'm not leaving. This is repairing, and it's brutal, because it forces you to feel the grief you never had time to feel, to sit with the rage, the sorrow, the unmet needs, to mourn birthdays no one remembered, to grieve the innocence you lost while protecting people who should have protected you. But that grief isn't weakness, it's thawing, it's life returning, it's proof that healing has begun. And in adulthood, these survival patterns show up silently. You become the therapist in all your friendships, but never let anyone truly see you. You're praised for independence, but inside you're terrified of being a burden. You overfunction in relationships, fixing, managing, explaining, then wonder why you feel resentful. You struggle with boundaries because saying no still feels like betrayal. These are not personality traits. They are coping mechanisms, learned, conditioned, and the good news, unlearnable. But only when you stop idolizing your strength and start honoring your wounds. One of the most powerful things you can ask your inner child is, what did I need back then that I never got? You may hear, I needed someone to tell me it wasn't my fault. I needed someone to ask how I was. I needed to play, to rest, to laugh without fear. And slowly, very slowly, you begin giving those things to yourself, not to fix the past, but to stop reliving it. This is how you stop seeking parents in your partners. Stop mistaking anxiety for intuition. Stop running from the child you were and the self you're becoming. Carl Jung once wrote, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But shadow work demands that we face it, all of it. The ashamed, the angry, the neglected, the terrified, because healing isn't becoming someone new. It's remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So if you grew up too fast, hear this. Your maturity was never the problem. The problem was that you had no choice, but now you do. You can choose softness. You can choose to rest. You can choose to stop managing everyone else's emotions and begin honoring your own. And no, it won't happen overnight. There will be days you feel like a child again. Good. That's the point. Let that child come home. Let them cry. Let them play. Let them finally be seen. Because you're not broken. You're becoming whole. And maybe for the first time ever, you're finally growing up the right way. Not through fear. Not through duty, but through truth. You never had a childhood, but you still have a future. And this time, you get to write it. If this spoke to the part of you that's still hiding, don't walk away from it. Come to the next video, not to stay strong, but to finally be real. Subscribe,